This is a ruse. This is an attempt to buy time for Hamas. Now, how are they doing this? In quite a sophisticated way, actually, and far too many people seem to be falling for it. What Hamas has told the International Board of Peace, this is the board that is supposed to handle the transition to stage 2 of the so-called ceasefire and the arrangements that everybody is talking about. What they have told the Board of Peace is that they are prepared to hand over their arms for storage so that these arms will be stored and given over to a future Palestinian government. What would that government be? Well, the first stage, according to this peace plan, is that there would be what they call a technocratic government, which is made up of sort of specialists in every area, like traffic and sewage, and people who know how to run public affairs. And there would be an international stabilization force, which is going to be commanded by a U.S. general by the name of Jesper Jeffers, if I pronounced that correctly. He was until recently the commander of Special Operations Command in U.S. Central Command. He's a very serious officer. He has been appointed to command the International Stabilization Force in Gaza. So you've got all these moving pieces, right? You've got the Board of Peace, which is supposed to oversee everything and negotiate with Hamas. You've got the International Stabilization Force, which is supposed to step in and start training a future Palestinian police force. You've got the technocratic government, and you've got Hamas saying, yeah, we'll hand over our weapons to this technocratic government. What's the problem? The whole thing is built on a myth. The whole thing is built on a fantasy, because as long as those weapons remain in Gaza in storage facilities, right, and I haven't even begun to discuss which weapons would be transferred, which wouldn't be, you can be sure that Hamas will know how to make a show of pretending to give its arsenal up when it will keep some of it. But let's put that aside for a second. Who is going to control this future Palestinian government? What happened in Gaza in 2007? Does anybody remember? In 2007, 2 years after Israel left the Gaza Strip, the what they call a disengagement, and it tore up every community and settlement that Israel built over the decades in Gaza, every soldier and every civilian torn out of the Gaza Strip. What happened? Within 2 years, the Palestinian Authority ran Gaza, and Hamas utilized its force to overthrow the Palestinian Authority. They call this the sort of Gazan civil war. They threw them from the rooftops. They killed them. They took over their weapons, and they ran the Gaza Strip and turned it into the terror base that we know today. Of course, this is what Hamas plans to do again. They will rule Gaza from the shadows. Who will be members of this Palestinian police? It will be Hamas. Who is going to tell this future Palestinian government what it can and cannot do? It will be Hamas. Who will put their hands on these storage facilities with the weapons in the future? It will be Hamas. This is the most obvious game plan. And they're agreeing to it because they want to buy themselves time. They understand that the IDF is encircling them. The IDF has a distinct advantage over them. And when their backs are against the wall, they turn to diplomacy to buy time. This is what jihadists do. And incredibly, there are those in the West who fall for it again and again and again. No matter how many times this playbook is utilized, people fall for it. Yes, Hamas will disarm. Really? Well, I tell you something. The day that Hamas agrees to have its weapons destroyed, not stored so that they can take them back over again, will be the day that pigs fly. So, what happened was that this Gaza Board of Peace, I don't know if you remember this, but approximately 10 days ago made a great announcement that they've reached a disarmament deal with Hamas. The weapons will be stored, and the IDF can start withdrawing. Prime Minister Netanyahu publicly said, guys, that's not going to happen. The weapons have to be destroyed. Now the Board of Peace is saying the weapons have to be destroyed because Israel insisted on it. Has Hamas agreed for the weapons to be destroyed? Nope, not officially. We haven't seen any of that happening. And again, they don't want to do it because once they really see their weapons destroyed, they're going to be powerless to continue their holy war. And they understand that that will be the end of them as a terror organization with very, very ambitious plans for this region. So they are trying to buy time, and they are using this diplomatic pressure to try and corner Israel. Now, I think that Israel also has got to do better when it comes to putting its own clear diplomatic vision forward. No stuttering, no hiding behind leaks to journalists. I think it's time that whatever government we have comes out and presents clear diplomatic options that serve the Israeli security and strategic interest for Gaza. So I think we need to have official documents from Israel saying the weapons need to be destroyed, and if they're not destroyed, the IDF will go in and destroy them. And we need timetables. By when will this happen? We need clarity. The Israeli people need clarity, and the international community need clarity. And I know that this is something that Benjamin has said time and again, and I think he's absolutely right about this, that if you leave a diplomatic vacuum open, somebody else is going to fill it. This is what we're seeing. So some of these plans that are being forced on us, these really flawed plans, it's really because our own government didn't put its own plans forward. I think that has to be said in the spirit of fairness. We have to be able to criticize, but also what we get wrong. And I think this is one of the things that we have gotten really wrong. We haven't put forward our own diplomatic agenda, and we're leaving a vacuum for others to fill, and it's costing us. It's costing us because we end up looking like we're just saying no. Now, the reason, again, that we're saying no to this is absolutely 100% valid. We have to say no, but we also have to put forward what we would agree to. And just to give you a hint about what I think our plan should be is stage one, either the weapons are destroyed, and if not, we will destroy them. No ifs or buts, no compromise. The end vision of this war should be Berlin 1945 throughout the whole of Gaza. In other words, the enemy either surrenders, which we know that they will not do, but we give them the option to surrender. We at least give them the option. And if not, we go in and finish taking the rest of the Gaza Strip, which is inherently possible for the IDF to do. This is the smallest arena, even though it's the most challenging urban warfare arena. I'm sure you've heard John Spencer and Benjamin talk to you about this again and again. By far and away the most challenging urban warfare arena on the planet. Difficult combat up ahead, but the IDF is the world leader now in tunnel warfare, in detection of this kind of threat, of the use of apartment buildings and hospitals and schools, closing what they call a sensor-to-shooter cycle in seconds. In other words, the time that it takes between detection of the target and bringing the direct, precise firepower on it and maneuvering into these areas. The IDF right now is the world leader in this because of the experience that it has built throughout years of combat since October 7th in both Gaza and in Lebanon. The IDF can do it. It's not easy, but it's inherently possible. So I think that the Israeli diplomatic agenda should say either the weapons are destroyed, all of them, every single weapon. The anti-tank missile launchers, which I'm sure I've told you in previous videos, are actually anti-home missile launchers. We saw what Hamas did with those anti-tank missile fire. Most of it wasn't directed at tanks, but at destroying the homes of the Gaza envelope. It was a genocidal tool directed against civilians. And AK-47s, those are not weapons that Hamas can keep. Those were used to massacre Israelis. Every weapon, the booby traps, the IEDs, nothing can remain. And the demilitarization part, this is the infrastructure that they build into the ground. All the maps have to be given, and Hamas has to show exactly where all of its tunnels are. Otherwise, the IDF will have to do it. Those should be the only two options. And then after that, I think it's fair to look at the idea of an administration. Once that's complete, it becomes realistic to talk about a localized Gaza autonomy, one that perhaps could have Emirati teachers and curricula teaching children about peace and de-radicalizing the population that has been basically indoctrinated into jihad and hatred and violence for over 2.5 decades. Again, Berlin 1945. Yes, it's possible. The German people were denazified, and Gazans are going to have to be de-Hamasified. And we could do this with the help of some of our Gulf partners. In my view, this is just my view, that's the kind of day after that we need to look at and put forward on the table with clear timetables and promote our own diplomatic agenda. Otherwise, we're going to have to keep struggling and responding to others' diplomatic agendas. And, guess what? In this world, in this cynical world, countries put forward diplomatic agendas that serve their interests, or sometimes political interests. Every agenda is different. It's high time that Israel started putting its diplomatic agenda forward that serves its interests. And clearly, by the way, any fair reading will conclude that this would be the best thing for Gazans as well.